Yo, internet, welcome back. It is time to get the electronic rack working in this Coyote swapped 2014 Expedition. I was just about to wire up the body connector where the CAN bus wires are, but I wanted to show you in the fuse box where you tap into power, where I think is the best. So let's get into it. So if you haven't seen in the previous video swapping the electronic rack, let me show you how we did that. I'm also going to start taking apart the rack. The outer tie rods look just like what's on that rack that I got. So we'll probably start doing that and then head back up top to do some more of the fun stuff. They both bolt in from the same position. Again, I'm glad this thing's two-wheel drive because it came out nice and easy. And there was definitely, the oil cooler was hitting that, and this looks a lot more slim, so bonus points there. Did come with a steering shaft, don't think I'll need it. This looks like the same length. I haven't measured it, but I mean, you can tell that's basically the same length and the same style of coupling. Electric rack is in, except this bolt is too long. All right, a little bolt trimming. Rack is fully in. So first off, the electronic rack harness is separate in the F-150, so you have to source that from an 11 to 14. I don't think it'll matter what year, but it matters what engine, because the 3.7, 3.5, and the 5 liter had electric racks, where the 6.2 still had hydraulic. And you interface with this plug here. This is part of the rack harness. This is make it modular harness, and it's getting its ignition and run from the fuel pump relay fuse, so got it double backed on there. This will all be covered with a cover, of course. And then our CAN bus wires, 2 wires, are going to the body connector. So if you're doing the swap or even just upgrading to an electric rack, you can buy this harness separate. You don't have to necessarily do a Coyote swap. This is literally everything I'm interfacing with is still in place when you still have a 5.4. So to get into the wires that I'm tapping into are the CAN bus wires. I'm not sure which one's high or low, but the one's white, one is white and blue. I've already teed into my wires in the harness. They're pins 58 and 59. White is the 58, white with the blue tracer is 59. You may have mentioned or remembered that in the previous video when we first started this up, that I was going to give an option whether you can tap into the OBD2 port or this body connector, which will yield the same results. It just might be less risky if you're not good with crimping and shrink tubing wires or don't have the tools. You can, even go use the Scotch lock connectors at the OBD2 port, so it's more of a read-only type deal, so that if you do mess up, then you're only going to mess stuff from the OBD2 port, like a little bit from where you splice it to the OBD2 port itself. Yeah, I'm going to finish wiring this up, tape it back up, and then start this thing, and it should work, because this is literally the first time I'm going to try this, and in theory it should all just work like a factory F-150 electric rack. So let me button that up and then we'll start it up and see. All right, we got that all buttoned up, looking pretty OEM Plus like. I don't have the cover on yet just because we're still getting through some things on the swap itself. So let's start this up, see if we got some power steering. Oh yeah, right out of the gate. Nice and super effortless. Don't mind the misfires. Still haven't fixed that from the previous video, but I think I'm gonna work on that now. It's gotta be the lightest steering ever. Alright, so got the Expedition back in here and gonna try and get after this misfire issue. Already got the fuel line disconnected, and I'm gonna pull the injector rail, maybe even that silly vacuum tube for the booster. Yeah, I think I'm gonna find a little better solution. Other than that, everything is hunky-dory. AC seemed to work as well as it could under a engine that only has got 75% of its cylinders working, or less. So that's good. So let's get the rail off. Probably gonna throw some stock injectors on it. If that's not it, then we'll go to the ignition side. But yeah. All right, fuel injectors out. I'll let these things soak with some Gibbs while I come back the next day to get some stock injectors I have at home. They're a little higher mileage, but you can still smell like really old fuel in the rails. I'm guessing those three on the passenger side weren't firing at all. Couldn't really smell fuel in the exhaust, so I'm leaning towards that it's an injector problem. So let's hope it is. Let's come back here in just a little bit. All right, through the stock set of injectors I had at home. I took out the plugs on those 3 cylinders. Afraid that I might have made the same mistake that I did with the 08 and closed the gaps when I was putting them in. You know, if you drop them in the cylinder or the spark plug hole from too far up, but wasn't the case. Gaps were all really good, so hopefully it was just these injectors. I think that was it. This thing was pretty smooth. I didn't show it on camera, but I forgot to hook the vacuum hose up and that thing was just like sucking all the air. I was gonna redo that, but I put it together back in haste. So yeah, I feel like those injectors were at fault. I had them soaking in some Gibbs overnight. Of course, I mixed up which 3 were misfiring or suspect, but yeah, good news. Man, is that fan loud. Man, she's running real smooth. AC's nice and chilly. Just gotta address some of those things, but that'll probably be for another episode. Loving the rear AC. I know this isn't very Coyote related, but I'm just pumped to have a vehicle like this for the boy. Have some nice cool air back there. Yeah. Realized after only hearing the high fan speed kick on, and then actually looking at the engine temps, the low speed wasn't even turning on at all. Looked at in 4Scan, it was commanding the low fan control. Popped the fuse box here, and the low fan relay was actually burnt up. Swapped it with the trailer tow / battery charge relay for the time being. Now we got low fan operation going. So had a little snafu with the tiniest little clamp here once this thing got pressure, but other than that, she's up to temp and all that good stuff. So kind of want to take this thing for a little spin around the lot here and, you know, get a feel for the big gal. Still got to align the front tires. And I am getting one other code that I haven't seen on swaps before, but Power by the Hour claims that they have seen this on every computer that's flashed, but let me show you. All right, so looking at our DTCs up there. Internal control module, read-only memory. So I haven't seen that on any of the computers that they flash me, but it is making the check engine light on, and that's the only reason the check engine light is on. And it looks like, I don't know, Christian is confirming with Jake that the cruise control is high. And when I looked at the info of the car, it shows a 13 model year Mustang, which I needed an 11 to 12 to make these cruise control buttons work, because that's what the reason that code is that PCM is now expecting a different resistance value, similar to the 13-14 Mustangs, where the 11 to 12s expect a resistance value differently on those vehicles, and it's the same as these. So a couple little bummers there, but she is running, and so do have another check engine light or a light on the dash. So is what it is so far, but I need that check engine light off. I was told that a tuner can turn those off, or at least that specific code, of course. So it looks like I might have to invest in some HP tuners, along with some factory Ford programming, to see if I can battle the ABS and, at minimum, the airbag module lights. So yeah, let's take this thing for a little spin around the lot and see what happens. No, I don't expect any greatness out of this thing's 6,000 plus pound vehicle. But I mean, let's see, go through the gears. That's smooth. Speedometer's working. Dang. On the other side of the lot here, maybe do a quick little thing. I can hear the intake over everything, especially in the mid shift. It was kind of interesting hearing the throttle shut versus when you just hear exhaust on a Mustang. You can hear it go, ooh, and then in the shift it goes, and then ooh, again. Cool. This thing's comfy. comfier than that. Oh wait, electric steering, that is a game changer. Decent steering radius for a long gal. Yeah, let's get some lights figured out on this thing. It'll be a nice little ride for the family. We're riding dirty, but everything's working. But of course, the cruise control, temperatures are good. Watching the trans fluid temp on the 4Scan as well. She's a big girl. She seems like it has a good tip in on the stock tune, but it really comes alive, of course, after that 4K. Hoping to get a little pull here before go back to the shop. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it from the start, pulling into traffic, and there's no way to downshift. Whenever I put anything below drive, it still says it's in drive and not requesting a lower gear, but yeah, we'll play with it later. I got a 321 engine to build for a guy in Florida, so I'm gonna get after that since this thing misfire is figured out. And DTCs for the most part, I know what to do next, so yeah. Yeah, so we'll end this video here. I'm gonna do a little deep diving and get some of those lights off, especially that memory code for the ROM in the computer. Kind of odd, never seen that before in as many swaps as I've done. But it's what it is. So give a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you want to continue seeing our OEM plus Coyote swaps, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.